Welcome back. This is episode 2 of the Sanity project. Just switch my keyboard. Okay. Shit. Yeah, it's come on quite decently since the last video. I'm just drawing back out. Bit more detail in there. Sorry about that. Anyway, yeah, I added some belts because he's got quite a lot of belts coming on, but I might twist this belt as well, so he's got one going up just to break the forms up a little bit. But yeah, I started to detail his stomach as well because I started to separate the model just to make it a bit more accessible. But the detail is going to be something like this. I am going to make it a little bit more diverse. I'm going to add some sort of zippers everywhere to make it look like I don't know, just really nightmarish kind of ideas. Like this clothing had sort of morphed into this weird, I don't know, just like slush and sludge, you know. So I'm going to put some zippers in there eventually. Started to figure out the legs a little bit. It's coming on nicely. Some big calf muscles in there, standard detail stretched across the middle. And today I think I'm going to build a head. I can show you how I made these belts if you want. But before, because I had that, the geometry on the top here was all used to be one. It used to be connected to the legs, but you know, I cut it in half. But let's just say it was all one. And I go down the subdivision levels a little bit. All I did is, you know, this would have been smooth when I did it, right? There were two ways of doing it. You can either just select an area like so, and then use this extract button under the subtool menu, and all you do is just assign a width. Usually go for something kind of small, like I don't know, 0.004 works kind of cool. And you're gonna get this with the new. I'm using Zbrush 4.2, and if you move, it's gonna sort of like get rid of it. But you've not lost anything. So when you hit extract, it's just like a preview of what your extraction is going to be, which is pretty nice because you can sometimes, you know, just figure out stuff and it's not creating geometry that isn't usable all the time. So once you're happy with your selection and your extraction, just hit accept, and then it's going to make the piece, which should be here. This is what I got from that extraction. That was a 0.004, and you know, it's a bit messy right now, so you know, just use your deformation menu here. I like to relax it up a little bit. It seems to sort out any more problems, and then I use the inflate thing, put about 20 on. Maybe a bit more than that. You don't want like a ridiculously thin mesh. Try and make it kind of quite thick, so you've got a bit more to work with. You know, something like that. It's cool. And then, you know, it's a bit messy still. So you have two options here, right? You can try and work with this, which is fine, because it does come with. Well, no, it doesn't. It should have come with polygroups, but in this case, it hasn't. I must have turned off some setting, but no well. Okay, so if you've got this mesh, right, what you want to do now is, to make it a bit more workable, a bit more friendly, is you want to use your dynamesh settings here. What dynamesh does is, it sort of projects like a grid, depending on this setting. Imagine like loads of squares, like a square piece of paper covering this, and this resolution just sort of determines how many squares are on this, and when it projects it, it sort of projects it on. Like if you press dynamesh, you'll notice, right, if I go to polyframe, how the squares are very sort of uniform, and even across here, look, you can see the pattern continues. It's going across like that, and if you up the resolution, it just ups the amount of squares. That's pretty much how dynamesh works, but it gives you a nice clean topology, very uniformed. And what I did there is I pressed BCC, which is a short key for the clipping brush. Press OK. What the clipping brush does is, if you press Control Shift, which is usually the selection brush, but now if I drag out with the clipping curve selected, which is BCC, you get this, and what it does is it clips the edge where the gradient is going to sort of flatten down to that line. But the brush, it doesn't actually cut anything. It doesn't actually, you know, as the name suggests, it doesn't actually clip anything. all it does is it pushes the polygons to the line that you've just drawn. So be aware of that. If you've got like a ridiculous amount of polygons up here, it's not going to work very well. You know, if it's pushing millions and millions of polygons to conform to a line, you're going to get quite a messy result. But that's how you can get a nice new flat edge. And then you might want to use the H polish brush to smooth out here, which is just BH brush H polish. Try and get used to some of the hotkeys for the brushes. It's pretty useful. Turn on symmetry, so I'm not doing it twice. And there's literally default settings on H polish brush. Just brush round. You don't usually have to change much on this brush because it just works so well, you know, as it is really. But yeah, it allows you to get a really sort of sharp edge on this shape. Just make it more sort of belt-like. And then yeah, you just keep detailing it, you know, adding all this stuff on, like stitching and or whatnot. But that's pretty much how you can get new shapes out easily using extraction. And that's how I did the belts, and then I did like, you know, all the buckles and stuff using similar methods. You know, I always try and use the stuff that you've got. Like I like to duplicate stuff and get stuff, like if I want to get a belt buckle or just a small shape, just to duplicate using the hotkeys, it's Control-Shift-D, and that's going to give me a new thing here, right? And then if I press BSR, that's going to select my selection brush. I'm going to hit this so I don't get this message anymore, and I can simply just, you know, select this piece. Maybe I want to make like one of those really big buckles, you know, like that you see maybe people, you know, like those big sort of oval shaped buckles, you know, or big square buckles with like LEDs in them or whatever. You know, I can quite easily use this, right? Cause, like, I mean, I've still got it selected, like, but let me just reselect that, okay? So all I've done is hidden, just like made this the only sort of made this the selection, right? And then a cool trick is to make sure that you have no different sort of levels of subdivisionals, and then all you want to do is just hit delete hidden, right? And if I do this, now I select that, nothing's going to happen because I've deleted all the polygons that are hidden. And then what you want to do is you want to close the holes, which is going to close these holes so I have a mesh that is, you know, this workable. You know, it's not got any gaps in there. But if I go to polyframe, it's a bit messy, so I may want to dynamesh that just to clean it up. And then I have this very workable mesh, and I might want to, you know, exclude that, turn solo off, and then come back here, and then, you know, maybe if you're pulling out, I just like to turn off symmetry just a bit. Sometimes it stretches the mesh out sometimes, then, you know, just pull it out, you know, and then just begin to pull it around using, you know, your transpose tool. You know, maybe you want to pull it out a little bit like so. Turn on my symmetry again so I get a nice even. Can you see there it's stretching in the middle, so I just have to dynamesh that. And then maybe you want to go back to the clipping brush, BCC, and I want to, you know, straighten that out so it's a more sort of, you know, how a belt buckle should work. And it's just so easy to make stuff this way, you know. You just, you know, refine, add more to it, and you can easily make whatever you need. So that's just like a kind of, you know, quickie tutorial on how to make stuff like that. It was just a sort. I don't know. I felt like I had to explain it because I've done quite a lot of stuff recently on this. Let's bring back some of this subdivision level. But yeah, I'm gonna make the skull or this head today. But I'm not gonna. The thing about working in ZBrush is that you have to work kind of smartly. You know, you have to figure out, you know, what's the best method of getting what I need. You know, and for the head, because it looks kind of symmetrical in this picture, I'm not gonna be working on this today. I'm just gonna save that. Get rid of that selection. I'm just going to save that out just in case, you know, just to feel safe. But what I'm going to use is, let me just get back the concept highlight I had. I'm going to use a mesh that was that came with ZBrush. So if I go to Tool and I find there's a Ryan Kingsling Anatomical study here, right? And I just draw her out. Okay, that's not quite working how I want it to be. I might have to just, okay, let's ignore that for a sec. Let me just get this mesh right. This is a muscle sort of sculpt that Ryan Kingsley did. And I'm just going to be borrowing this skull, which I've flattened. To just get this skull, all I'm going to do is, I only need like the top half. So I'm going to go to my selection brush. Okay. And I'm just going to grab, so just like more than enough, more than I need. And I'm just going to delete the hidden on this. Delete hidden. I'm just going to dynamesh that. So I have this. And then I'm going to carefully go to, if I press Control and Shift, right, I can change the properties of my selection brush a little bit. And I want to go to Select a Lasso, which is going to give me the ability to carefully select this little piece of bone that's hanging off there. And just get rid of that, and then update my dynamesh. I need to delete the hidden first. Just to make it a little bit more, you know, I don't want all this odd sort of stuff sticking out. And then I'm just going to sort of fix up some areas, make it a little bit more sculptor friendly. And just get a bit of back face masking on so I don't have that problem. Update this dynamesh just to make it a little bit, you know, I don't really need all this mess down at the bottom here. You know, all that I'm trying to get out of this is just the skull shape really, and that's looking pretty nice. There's a bit of pinching in that cheekbone, and I can sort out. Yeah, that's fine. That's easily workable. Okay. I'm just going to come to cylinder here, make that a polymesh, and I'm just going to append that skull, just so I don't have the other 89 subtools that are in that. And then that top end, I'm just going to delete that one out. Okay, make a new, so I can re-import my concept art. Cool, and that'll be good to go. Got this nice mesh to work on. I'm just going to try and recreate this weird skull I've got going on with our character. Not quite. It looks kind of bony, so I don't know. I guess I should try to stick to that. But don't be afraid of using the subtools that come with ZBrush. I mean, that's the reason why they're there. I mean, as long as you don't literally just like rip it off and then shove it in your model, you know. I'm only using this Ryan Kingsley study as a basis, I guess, and I don't feel guilty about it at all. You know, I couldn't be bothered to make a skull from scratch when I had one right there that's accessible. Be smart with your models, you know. Its eyes are a bit round. Think about major forms. So most of it's going to be hidden anyway. That's why I just deleted half of its face, because it was, you know, hidden by all this cloth and stuff that's draped around. But, you know, it's just nice to have something that is so, it's just already there, you know, and most of the hard anatomical work has already been figured out, and I can just apply this idea. If I ever have the option to do that, then I'm going to do it, you know. Simple as. Just getting a bit of texture to the back of that head. You will never be the same again. Okay, that looks fine. Next subdivision level. Try and add some more interesting elements to this. I love sculpting like that, you know, like lots of tiny little brushes. My mum's calling me as well right now. I'm just going to ignore her. Yeah! Alright. Apparently my tea is ready. Convenient timing. suppose I can complain, you know, getting meals made for me. I don't know if I should add some of the detail in there, even though it just contradicts what this skull is. No, I have this thing about making everything look like it's all sort of organic and gruesome. It's kind of like this sludgy effect, you know. I have no idea where that even came from, you know. I wish I had more information about this project. I will show you a test corridor that I found in the Dropbox, which is interesting. It's just some of the guys who are making the environments for the game. They put together this sort of corridor test, and it looks pretty spooky, you know. It's gonna be really interesting. I can't wait to see my character in that environment. Hopefully they have the UDK file, so I can place him in there and just check him out. Yeah, that's gonna be really exciting when I get to that stage. But we don't actually have an animator and a rigger as far as I'm aware anyway. So I think I'm trying to get this model done so we can advertise for one, you know, give them something interesting to look at and say, you know, animate this for us, please. You know, I think animators are sort of off put if they have like goofy looking work. So hopefully my work will suffice to entice an animator to this project, get the ball rolling a bit. It looks like he's sort of, I don't know, surprised or like has his eyebrows raised. So I'm just trying to sort of encapsulate that a little bit. You know, I'm not making too much form changes because, you know, it is a skull after all, and I want to retain that. But I want to put some sort of, you know, it's not going to be a traditional looking skull. I mean, it already doesn't. It's kind of veered away from strict anatomy and stuff, so, you know, but I still want it to look like a skull, if you get me what I mean. Next subdivisional level. Now this is where stuff gets to get pretty tight and, you know, pretty detailed and stuff. I'm just trying to add like an element of stone, or just, you know, typical hard surface details, you know, like scratches and those typical imperfections on its surface and stuff. Gonna start using some alphas in a minute that I have. Try and get some interesting effects out of those. So you can't really sculpt, you know, detail it well by hand. You know, you always have to use alphas to get the ridiculous, intricate levels of detail. It just, you know, it's the beauty of using Zbrush, I guess. You know, it's just so diverse. Maybe I get a bit of cavity going on. I don't know, just interested. Nope. Using the wrong version of my brush now. Alright, getting somewhere. Embrace my love in words. Let me just get rid of this. It's a really sort of obvious symmetry line. I don't know why, but for some reason when you sort of brush in symmetry across the line of symmetry, it just, there's a really obvious line that appears, which is odd. Okay. I'm just gonna switch. I'm just gonna check out some alphas actually. Using my standard brush, press the comma key to bring up Lightbox, and then you can just browse your alphas. If they're in your sort of installation folder, you should have access to those in these little thumbnails, which is extremely useful. Aaron Sims alphas. I think these are on. If you just Google these Aaron Sims alphas, you can get this pack somewhere. Love its skin alphas, but you know it works kind of well, especially these scaly skin stuff. If you find some with like really predominant lines in them, or not, it might have been leathery skin I was looking in. Yeah, just stuff like this, you know, like lines and stuff. I have to play around with my intensity a little bit. You know, just add in all that wear and tear and stuff, you know. It's just so much easier to do with alphas instead of trying to like go in with like /3, even though I will be going in with /3, just to add a little bit more information and just tighten up some of the detail and stuff. You know, you just can't really achieve the same using this. I mean, it's already looking a bit more interesting right now. Just add a bit more on this back little area, just dotting it around, not really thinking about too much. Just grab something else, a bit more, maybe like something like this, but lower the intensity down quite a bit, you know, just to really break the forms up. Something extremely noisy like this may be interesting too, especially for the poly paint, as it's going to pick up all that information. It's just all about breaking forms on ZBrush most of the time, you know. There's nothing worse than a really smooth model. I hate that, you know. It just looks like a 12-year-old's been playing around with Play-Doh, you know. Try and just achieve a bit more. I don't know, just don't make it so smooth. Yeah. I'm gonna use /3 now. Just to lower this intensity down. /3 is really sort of, it can be really brutal on the effects that it has on your model, so yeah, just play around the intensity. I'm just gonna add some kind of, you know, just like lines and stuff everywhere. Try and tighten up the detail a little bit. Just add interesting areas of wear and tear, as you'd expect from like a really old skull. Especially around these brows. I think the brows are a point of interest on this. There's not really much to look at, to be honest with you, you know. Try and make some nice deep cavities and stuff. Yeah. For some reason it's got its alpha turned off. I think, I'm really not sure which alpha it uses. Was it this one? No. I swear /3 had an alpha. It might have been damn standard. I don't know. Seems to be working fine anyway. So that a little bit, that's a bit dodgy. We'll try Davian standard brush. They're pretty similar brushes, to be honest with you. I think Damn Standard has a bit of a better minus brush. You know, to sort of sharpen things up and add that uber sharp, pointy detail everywhere. It works a little bit better with Damn Standard. I feel like I'm pretty much done with this. I'm going to place him in soon. See how he looks. I can always do a bit more work on it later on if I feel that the detail isn't sufficient enough. And I just felt like it was such a refined piece of this character that I could just detail it straight away. You know, I was never ever going to change the idea of the skull. You know, because that's what it is. That's his head. You know, it was just a part of this character that was never going to need any development or any sort of creative process to it. You know, like the skin, I had to really sort of figure out, like, you know, what I was going to do with that, and it was just, you know, the skull is just the skull, you know. So I can get the detail in there and just eventually figure out if I need to add any more, I guess. That seems fine. Seems okay. Just gonna poly paint extremely nice. Might add a bit down here. It's sort of, I don't know, make the nose a bit more interesting. Add some long, sort of obvious cracks and tears and stuff in this bone. Might deepen these nasal cavities a little bit as well. Should probably use a move tool in there as well, just to kind of pull out that nasal cavity a little bit. And that seems fine. Alright, I'm just going to drop us in now into my character. Probably have to draw him out. There we go. Okay. Just going to hit that append button. And that's going to drop the skull in there somewhere. I'm assuming it's down the bottom. Here we go. Then, using my transpose tool, try and find where it is first. Okay. Orientation must be a bit weird in comparison to rankings in some tool. And I'm just going to use this scale. Just to sort of bring it to size. Might add a bit of rotation on that as well. Just make sure it's in the middle. Just rotate it around a little bit, like that. And that looks kind of cool. I think it should be a bit further back though, like it should be about there. I'm just going to get rid of this now, this old skull that we had. Just by slowly, I can actually go in there now. And just, you know, using the negative version of my brush, just like get rid of it. Cool. Let me just hide that a sec. I need to figure out how much I want to hide of it, you know. I kind of want it to sort of be like, a bit like that. But I want it to be quite tight around. I can't really do much with this because I plan on separating this part of the model again, you know, so I have like the cloth detail is one, you know, all this detail here, then separate this boiled arm. I'm basically going to cut out this arm and this bit around his back as well, and then have these two as separate. I feel it's going to be a bit easier to work with, you know, the transition between their detail is going to be it's going to make a lot more sense as well. You kind of have like this weird scarf-like feature, which is quite cool. Reminds me like an old train robber or something. An old mine thief. Let's try and match that shape a little bit better, so I can better analyse what I'm going to do next, you know. Let's make that into some those bulges that are coming out, sort of coming round. Still a lot of work to figure out on his body though, but I guess that's a little bit better now. It's got a little head in there. It's looking nice. I think for the next step, which I'm not going to film, probably not. Well, I might do actually. I need to separate these various body parts still, like the arm and stuff like I mentioned. But I need to figure out this arm as well. It's looking a bit dodgy. I might get rid of this and just keep it as like a piece of cloth that hasn't been folded, so you can use it as some sort of whip weapon. He's like he's whipping you or something. But alright. Let me just turn them all back on. That's pretty much it so far. There's a few issues with this as well. It needs to be a bit wider. I'm going to make it widen that out a little bit. But yeah, I've got this skull in now. Looks a bit better. Looks a bit big actually, now that I've got all the rest of the body, so I might resize that as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Part 2 done. I almost forgot. I said I'd show you the corridor, which is in this Dropbox somewhere. Let me just find it for you. If it decides to open. Hey! Why are you so laggy? Yeah, TGM project, and I think it was in maybe screens, maybe other. I think it was one of these. I think there's some of the screenshots of just different doors and stuff. See, I'm not quite sure of the plot yet, but I think it's something. Obviously, it's called Sanity, so it's obviously to do with your rationale and thought process. But it looks pretty cool. I like the details on the walls and stuff, and it's all cracked and falling apart. But just imagine being chased around by some of my creatures and stuff, you know. It looks a lot better than Amnesia, I must say. I liked the game, but the art style of the castle and stuff, you know, it was just a bit silly. It just didn't, you know. I felt they could have picked a better plot than being stuck in some big castle, you know. It's been, you know. I mean, I know castles are kind of creepy, but I don't know. I don't think it was the environment art was very good. Yeah, that's just some of the stuff. Toilet. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I've got to show at the minute. Got to show that is some random design sketch. But that's pretty much it, guys. If I have some more information, I will update you on that. Peace out.